What's happening, guys? Thank you for coming back to the channel. We have an absolute new project today. Definitely something different than I've done in my shop before, but that's why I love moving and setting up a new shop, which this isn't my permanent one, but this is a new toy to the shop. What we have here is approximately a 1966 Sears roper. It's 6-speed, it's 3 high and 3 low. I believe it's an 8 or 12 horsepower motor, complete steel body. Now, let's see if we can, there we go. Flip up hood. We got the original motor. We have the original gas tank. It does still have the original headlights, the original tail light. Now, unfortunately, it has been molested. There's a lot missing off of it. After I was doing I went in, like, when I went and checked it out last night, I ended up paying $100 for this. The guy wanted $160 or best offer. Then he had asked $120, and then I talked him down to $100 even, because I knew I was going to do more work. It's got the original lights, but I kept looking for a battery, and I knew this thing would have something to power those lights. And after getting home, I done some more research on this to figure out what it was. I found out it should have had a generator starter on here for an electric feature. Or not a starter, should have had a generator on here to power the lights. Now, it is missing that. It is missing, like, I've noticed, like, there should have been here, like, more of another floorboard would have sat here. It would have brought it back to a fender. It's missing those. Somebody has cobbled up this exhaust. And I wouldn't have said it was a bad exhaust, but then I got looking in depth. There's bolts that are drilled through the exhaust. There's, let me see if you can kind of see it. You see the angle right here? Somebody has literally stripped this to get this in at an angle, which is completely wrong. There's a self-tapping screw here. Self-tapping screws here. This pipe, I guess, doesn't thread in there. There's just enough that makes this thing look cool. I love the dip can shifter. I like that, but we're going to end up taking that off. We're going to put something a little bit more appropriate. The seat, it looks like nothing more than a blue barrel. Somebody tried to cut a seat and cobble it up. There's some kind of metal that they put under here. Now, this is going to be original. And I do have a tractor seat. It's not in the best condition, but I might end up using that. Or I might even look for just a hard pan seat from Tractor Supply or something. It's missing the attachments. It would have originally came with a 3-point hitch back here for a plow. You would have had a mower deck that would have been under here, and off this pulley you would have had something else. I believe that went down to the mower deck, and I believe there was a plow attachment that would have hooked up here to the front. Now, I am considering making a lot of little accessories to go along with this. I figured I was just going to go ahead and show it off. Like, I noticed there's a lever here that moves inside but doesn't really connect to anything. This would have been the 3 speeds. It would have been 1 through 3 high. Then you can change it right here to high and low. I believe this is 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm guessing one of them might be a neutral, just like the other one would have a neutral to it. So I guess what I decided to do is, I like this. We're going to end up cleaning it up, but we're going to repower it if I can make it to work. And what I'm going to do, this is an unaired project. I've never aired this. I have all the footage. It's uploaded, just never released it. This was a project I started calling the Death Trap. I have a 420cc Predator motor that, if any of y'all been with my channel long enough, you would have probably noticed it. About 4 years ago, I had a riding mower that I had this on. So I got thinking, I said, well, why don't we just take this motor off? It's got electric start. It's a lot newer, same amount of power, and put this on that project. Now, the only thing I might see difference is going to be the length of the motor. Let me explain. If you notice, from here to here is about the same width with that big block. I think it was a Briggs & Stratton, it might be a Tecumseh that's over there, but the other engine is taller, where this one protrudes more forward. So that's going to be my only issue. I decided to go ahead and take a chance, go ahead and unbolt this motor and try it over there to see what happens. If it works and I can get it to fit and make it happen, then we're just going to take everything there. We're going to bring it over here. What I'm going to do is go ahead and pull this hood off, pull this front end off, and I've just been trying to figure out how I can cobble it up to fit in here. The only challenge I see is this. This would be the release. I forgot what you call this thing. It's idler, maybe. It's where you push the pedal in. This goes down to release, or tensioner. It releases the tension from the foot. So that's the only issue, is if you kind of notice, it bolts right here. Has two bolts here that bolt it to the motor, and it has a little, let me see if we can, you notice how the belt, hopefully you can see that. So that's really the only issue, is to get that to fit. Somebody has come in here and put this little off and on here. The lines are brittle. I filled it up with fuel earlier. Matter of fact, we'll shut that off right now. Here's the original off and on. The motor has great compression, but it is going to be a point system. I just figured let's go ahead with something a little bit newer, and possibly I didn't want to really molest this tractor because these things are awesome, but I figured it could use a little bit of repowering. Might actually end up reusing this tank, and might have to cut this plate and make room for a battery to sit down in here. So I do have some ideas. We are going to clean it up. We are going to work with it, and I do want to use it at my new property and the new shop. And I figured it'd be a nice romp mower too. So all the way around, it could definitely use a little cleaning up. I guess in this state, I have nothing else to do but start taking it apart. In a matter of about 15 minutes, give or take, we have the grill off. We got the front grill off, that's set aside. Got the front hood off, got the gas tank. Wasn't bad. I see somebody has came in and did some repair work, so it must have had a hole in it at one time. Only one nut was holding it on. But as for now, the engine's out. Now this thing was, I believe, originally red. Then somebody added some green. Then somebody painted it the blue and white colors that it is now. Here is this is the engine tensioner plate that was attached right to the motor, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to reattach that. And I have the cobbled up exhaust. It wasn't even really threaded into the motor. You see there's the end of that self-tapping screw, and we got it all kind of ways of cobbled up. We got a couple usable parts. We'll set that over here with the engine. I am going to keep this engine. I always keep stuff like that in my hoard. And it's a cute little muffler. Oh, it must be off some kind of doodad, but we don't need this. Keep it anyway. Maybe a future project. Have to get in here, remove these straps because they're not really the factory ones, nor am I going to run that type exhaust. I even considered possibly running the same exhaust as we had on the racing mud mower, whatever that project was. So next step, I need to really pressure wash this down. I do want to do some repair work. Like you notice, there's a perfect gusset triangle. They came in over here and cut part of it out for that exhaust. If I can't repair it 100%, I'd like to at least just put it back. I mean, this is an original mower. but I just want to at least get it running again. These ropers were something fierce back in the day. So now at least I've got everything out. Now we got to figure out how to put it all back using the Harbor Freight Predator 420. But I think that's what all I'm going to do today. I have to go to work here soon. So for today, at least I got the engine out. That's the hard part. Actually, no, that's really the easy part. Now I got to get over there and undo that other motor and get it sat down in here. I might take a crack at it today, depending on how much time I got. We'll figure that out. Here's what we got so far. Got the motor taken off that project. I have it over here. Biggest challenge now is to get this long motor to fit in here. I have plenty of room until I have to get this in here. I do see a mounting hole of sorts. I think that was part of the original key. The key setup. I'll have to get pulleys to line up and different things for this tensioner. Unfortunately, I might, before I do it, I have to see, I might have to cut these off. I do have a spring. I took off the governor back to here. I need to reconnect, but I could do that at a later date. I've had this motor for such a long time, I really want to put it to work. Doing something other than just being swapped from project to project and never getting used. It does have electric start, doesn't have a charging system, but it has enough to just recharge the battery. But if I use the lights minimal, I don't see an issue. Throttle cable, I have that. I have a choke cable. Might have to, well, I lost the original arm for this, but what I want to do is buy a correct Harbor Predator air filter setup and get another little arm. But that should be able to be routed and hooked up to the choke, so I can control the choke from the dash and not have to open the hood to choke it every time. So I have, I don't know what we got here, about 5 inches more. I think if I can scoot it in, I really didn't want to start cutting on this until I knew I could get this big motor in. I think it'll definitely be something to repower this with. That's the only thing kind of sucks when you're repowering old stuff, is that the older stuff used flathead engines, and these are more of I don't even know what you call these. They're not flats. Oh, got to put away a tool. Well, I need to head out to work. It's getting late for me. Thank God I only work down the road. But actually, I don't think this is even, like I said, I really didn't want to start cutting and messing with the grill of this thing. But if I can't use this engine the way I would like, I'm going to have to find something that I can use. Only thing kind of sucks is this has got a big shaft on it. That's what I would need. I believe it's a 1-inch shaft. But this motor definitely needs to slide back a lot further to fit in here. So I'm going to leave the project right here for today. I didn't show much what I was doing. I just kind of showing as I went, as I got things accomplished just because of time. But this is it. This is what I got done so far. So we'll hope that possibly we can repower this thing with this big giant Predator engine. I mean, even if it slid over, it's got a huge hole that it can sit off to the side. So maybe it's possible we could slide it over and back and possibly start clearing things. Well, I figure it's time to get y'all caught up since the last couple clips that y'all seen them splicing together. If you notice the engine, I've got it in this spot. I've got it kind of far back as I can get it, and I've had to actually put it up on like little stilts. And the reason is right down here. Hopefully you can see that there's that little bar right there. And if you notice, it's part of the clutch brake release right there. Hopefully you can see that moving. That had to clear up underneath the motor. it was a little challenging getting this type of motor that sits so far forward, where the old style flathead Briggs went vertical. These newer motors, they kind of sit more forward as far as the jug. So what I ended up, I've been trying to do the absolute least cutting on this thing as I have to. I went ahead and sliced this little plate that came across the very front. This was part of the original mounting for the motor. I guess it was like an upper style mount. So went ahead and sliced that and had to cut a little bit more out to clear the governor arm, which later on I might take the governor arm off. I'm not going to mess with that. The tank will end up going back in its original spot. Let me show you. Down here is a good... What I ended up doing was getting some very long bolts. I drilled a new set of holes for the mounting. I ended up making a template of the original of the mount for this motor. I've got these two holes drilled, and these, I forgot exactly what they call them. I found these at the hardware store. Basically, you can join a set of threaded rods with them. But what I ended up doing, I believe these are 3/6, no, can't remember exactly the size, the inside diameter, but I found a bolt that would go all the way through and was long enough where basically I threaded the bolt up, threaded it into this, then I put in a washer to support the very bottom here, another washer, and then I've got a lock nut right there. Now I've got the very front, you can kind of see it's sitting up off the deck, which will give me the clearance I need for this down here for the clutch. Now if you'll notice, there's a piece of wood, and what I ended up doing was taking a 2x4 and sticking it on my table saw, the same thickness as this here, and what that does is gives me a spot to level the engine on the back. So I tackled the easiest part, which is getting the very front secured down. Now it's time to get the back done. And you can see, let me walk around here. And as you can see here, here's the other part of it. Actually, it doesn't seem like it's doing anything. So I'm guessing the motor must be resting on something. I need to double check that. But what I'm going to end up doing is coming through here on this mount. There's another hole, mounting hole right here. I'll end up drilling a hole from the bottom side and coming up with the same exact to put another motor rest here. But since I have this, what I'm going to do is actually recreate this. I have some 2x4 box steel that I'll end up making another one of these out of steel. I'm going to end up sliding it up under, then I'll weld it straight to the original mounting deck for the engine. And the purpose of that is the other mounting hole is right in the way of, it's right in the way of that arm. And there's no way I'm going to be able to bolt that fourth one in. Now that's kind of a shame, because I hate to just leave one motor mount out. But this is a stationary motor, thank God, and I will have no adjustments in the future. All of this is done through this tensioning arm for the belt. And I ended up manipulating that too as well. I cut the original mounts. The original mount came more forward and it bolted to the side of the block, and it was actually sitting a little bit more forward. So I ended up basically just finding a piece of scrap, doing some quick welding, and this pivots up and down to tension the belt. I have realized I will have to get a little bit shorter of a belt, so that's not that big of a deal. And I've got these throttle lines and clutch. Right now they're in the way, but I'll have to reroute them as we go along. And a good old eBay came through. I found a steel 3-inch pulley keyed. Now unfortunately, didn't say nothing to the seller. I just wasn't going to get anything started because it kind of upsets me that there is not a set screw. So I'll have to go check my hoard or take this up to the local hardware store. But we'll slide that on appropriately once this motor's fully bolted down, and I'll set the pulley. And from there, what I'll have to end up doing is cutting. I'll just cut this belt, and wherever the tightness can come up, I'll cut it so that way I can turn around basically take a little piece out of it, join it, make sure it looks good. What I'll do is turn around and measure the overall length, and I'll just take the piece I cut to the hardware store. They have belts right here in town. I don't have to drive into the big city, so we'll try to find a little belt that's a little shorter. And what I'll do later on is I'll actually write the belt number right here on the side of the block for future maintenance. So I can't install this right now. I still need to get this this back mount done and go ahead and make another basically a big spacer to go underneath the back half of the motor. Maybe I can find a way to add a bolt back there that won't interfere. But the next best step I'm going to do is I need to go over to the original motor, and there's a belt guide that keeps it from coming off. I need to go ahead and remove that and bring that over to this motor while I'm still thinking about it. We'll walk over here. I've not gave up on this motor, but for right now, you can see here's the original. This is the original pulley. I tried to get it off, kept breaking it. It looks like it's actually a double pulley. I'm sorry, it possibly can be two pulleys, but it is a double pulley. That's when I gave up on this and decided to opt to spend the $12, $13, whatever that other one was. So the biggest thing is right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull these two bolts, and we're going to go ahead and take this this belt guide off, and we'll transfer this one over to the new motor. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera real quick, and I'll get right back with you guys. Forgot to show you guys, in order to slip this motor in, these were the top mounts for the original fuel tank. I just took the cut-off wheel, took off both of them, and this was like a little side piece. Let me show you guys. Oh. You can see right here where my finger's at. That's one of the mounts. The other one's equivalently right across from it, and this is that third little mount. Now, I was surprised. The bolts actually came fairly easy out of this. I haven't had too much problems with this unit. Anything coming out pretty hard for being such an old unit. It's crazy that I have to get some kind of cleaner in there to remove this muck. This would be dirt dobblers. As most of my subscribers know, I live in far north Florida, and out in the country now. Hopefully soon we're making progress on the house and the new shop, or at least getting stuff set up for a new shop. But we're just cleaning the threads out, and I have no idea if these will fit in the same hole because they came from a whole different style engine. They just might. Worst case, they look like they might actually fit. Let me go ahead and get something to spray in here and clean out this muck, and I'll bring you right back. Well, if you see, I've got the little belt guide, got that in place. On this one, I really didn't need this particular one, and the reason is it's this one. There's some kind of contraption that would have bolted to the front, and your belt would have went kind of to the front. Then it comes up under. It comes like underneath here to the original mower deck. Now that's something I really didn't need because I have no mower deck on this. I found a lot of the original accessories on eBay and different platforms on the internet, so I'm still waiting to see exactly what we're going to end up doing with this. But I thought it'd be cool for it to run. Nothing else, we can make a romp tractor out of this. So I've got this, and later on what I can do is I'll probably just clean this up right on here, or I'll take this back off. Thank God the original bolts came off that old it's between the 60s and the 70s. I'm not exactly sure what year it is, but the bolts actually fit right onto this newer motor, a Chinese clone. So particularly happy about that. Let's see, get this out of the way. So, oh, another issue that I just figured out. Let me see if I can get y'all. If you notice here, there's a C-clip or E-clip, whatever you call it. I believe it's an E-clip. There's a rod that goes through, and it just happens to go right in the path of what I need right here to make a mount. So I am kind of stuck at the moment to figure out how we're gonna make a mount for that. Coming up with an idea, not particularly sure how good it's gonna be, but I might just end up making that C. Might end up just taking this, cut a piece of this out of that that 2x4 box steel, and might just drill a hole, weld a nut on the bottom side, and I'll just have to put a bolt through the top. And I could weld, if this one was made of the steel, I could try and just weld it right to the body, and at least I can get a good mounting point there. Might end up having to do both sides that way. So I guess let me figure out what's going on. While I'm at it, I can go search my hoard, see if I can find a set screw for this. And with just a couple of cuts of the good old cutoff wheel on my messy outdoor bench, we have another identical piece to the wood, except this is a true 2x4. Well, not this. This is a true 2x4, straight dimensional, unlike modern lumber that we buy nowadays. This is actually 2 inches by actually 4 inches, unlike a 2x4, which is 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So we have the proper little piece cut, nice thick super wall, so there should be absolutely no reason why we would have an issue. Now, if I'd have paid a little bit more of attention, because what I did was just set everything on the bench and just traced off that wooden pattern, but I didn't see, nor did I pay attention, there's a seam that runs through here. I really don't like drilling through that seam, but doesn't matter. You can get a better idea. And on the inside, you see that seam, that's where the metal is joined and welded. But no big deal. We have this, and what I'm going to do is just check. Like, I see like a little hump right there. I'll just take a flap wheel or just run it across the bench grinder or something. Just make sure that's dead flat. If I move some of this junk, that's not to say, it looks like actually this would be flat and I have a little extra, but that's alright. I'm going to weld it. This side looks decent. So with my goal, what I'm thinking is for the one on the right side, I could drill a hole where I need to and weld. Let's see. And I have a lock nut, but unfortunately once you weld a lock nut, you're going to lose the nylon. It's going to just melt. But I could take and weld the nut on the bottom side of that hole, where I could run a bolt straight through. We could tighten it up there. I am definitely I'm thinking about doing the same for the other side. What I'll do is just cut a little piece out so I can get in through both sides. Trying to figure that out exactly, because with the arm, I can clear the arm with the bolt there, but it is still a pain to get a wrench because I can't come in this way to tighten it. So I'm going to have to tighten it from here, and I'll have to show you on the tractor. I don't want to babble on, but at least I got it to this point. So now it's time to figure out where the holes are going to be so I can go ahead and drill the holes and weld the nuts in place, stick this in place, bolt everything, then I'll probably come through and just tack weld it straight down. Well guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this video. Stay tuned to part 2. We're going to get this thing running. I don't want to hold this video up. Please share across social media. I'm trying to get this channel built up even better. I know I'm not the best on YouTube, but I'm definitely trying to keep the videos going, keep the quality up. Guys, I appreciate every one of you for watching. Please thumbs up, share this across all social media platforms if you really enjoyed this video and want to continue seeing this Sears Suburban, I believe it's also called a Roper, lawn tractor. We're trying to kind of give it a restoration, but at the same time we're just trying to get it to work and play and keep that vintage look. Thank you guys. Thumbs up to all y'all for watching. Thank you so much.